Hi, greetings. It's me, Dr. Paul Gerhardt, and this may be a long video, but it really is going to be worth it. I've been studying teams and leadership for over 2 decades now, and I've worked with leaders at every different level of so many different types of organizations. And this video is going to encompass what I have found about the most successful organizations and teams. So specifically, I want to talk to you today about what makes a good team, what leaders should know about hiring and managing people, and about conflict, and about recognizing symptoms. So stay tuned. This video is going to be a little long, but it's really going to be worth it if you stay to the end, I promise. So as you look at the team concept, you really need to recognize that it is a great leader that knows what to do at the right time. It's about really understanding group behaviors. It's about the ability for leaders to tap into the constructive power that every team has to offer. And it really is about putting together a team and then massaging it the right way by doing the right thing at the right time with the right people. I know that some of this really seems kind of trite, but sometimes you don't know what you don't know, and so stay with me as I go through this video. Some of the characteristics of excellent teams, the ones that are creating phenomenal new ideas and innovations that go into place that change the face of the organization and build the reputation and make it a place where people want to do business with, where productivity is maximized, and that you have raving fans for customers who are the people's best marketing and advertising people in the business, because you've earned that. And that's the power of teams. Just a few benefits of teams. You know, Dr. Stephen Covey talks about this philosophy of synergy. And synergy is when the outcome is significantly greater than the input of its parts. And that really is true. I mean, 1 plus 1 should equal significantly more than 2 if you have people who are really being good team members and they're helping each other bring out the best. And so that really is a very simple idea, but teams can be powerful. And the fact of the matter is everybody is working in a team. Even me as a professor or as a consultant, I am working as a team to help the organization that I'm working for even better. So if you want to have a good team, you really need to make sure that you focus on some of these basics. So you might want to write some of these things down. The more that you focus your attention on something, the more that it becomes a part of you. And if you can put your tools in your toolbox to be able to pull them out at the right time, that's going to help you be even more effective, right? So, excellent teams have a clear mission. They have kind of an informal atmosphere. It doesn't have to be so formal. There's lots of discussion that's taking place. And even more importantly than people doing a lot of talking, there's a lot of active listening taking place. And so people are processing the ideas and thoughts of other people. There's high levels of trust and openness. When people disagree, that's okay, because disagreement means more perspectives, right? There's criticism that's taking place, but it really is on specific issues rather than on people. They do things as a team to take consensus. You know, it sounds like most of us are in agreement with this idea. Let's go with this idea. Leaders really are actively finding ways to make sure that team processes are going smoothly. It doesn't mean that people aren't disagreeing, but it means that the conflict is constructive. And that there's real clarity in what the reason is for people to be meeting and putting energy and resources into it. And then there's some shared values and norms of behavior, and everybody is committed to delivering positive results and to each other. And so that really is important. So if I've said that too fast or and you didn't quite get something, I recommend that you stop the video and go back and look at these things. There are positive and negative group members, and let's face it, most people are good, but some people develop habits that break down teams or slow down the team processes. So it really is important to recognize who you are and what your role is, and then recognize other roles of what people are doing and how that could sabotage the success of a team. And smart leaders know what to look for, and then they take the right action. Of course, great leaders are modeling and reinforcing positive behaviors, and they're dealing with negative behaviors. They are providing the direction, and they're leading by example. And that really is important. Leaders must recognize that they're being observed because it sets the tone for the team. Leaders have the most important role in any organization, and then they have to make sure that they're helping people give and be their very best, right? So some things that group leaders want to praise, and these are different roles that you may see, because some different types of personality styles help add value to an organization and a team. Encouragers, clarifiers, harmonizers, idea generators, ignition key people, standard setters, and detailed specialists. So each of these roles really help make projects and tasks go a lot smoother. When you have team members who have these next characteristics, your team is going to be a little bit weaker, and so leaders must really recognize who those people are and deal with them right away before the team goes toxic. So you've got people who are all about their own ego. I call those ego trippers, or negative artists, or above it all type people, or aggressors, or the jokester, or the avoider, or power victims. You know, we see each of these different types of personality styles or group role members that they become that person when they start engaging with other people. And so I'm going to tell you how to deal with those problem behaviors, because you need the talent and insight of those people, and other people are observing how you treat team members, and that really is important to consider. So as a leader, taking the higher road, setting the tone. So when an individual disrupts the group, you know, you have to stay calm and be patient and then talk it out in a mature way. Report observations and be uncritical about what you're observing. Point out that you recognize the person wants to be successful. They are a valuable member of the team, right? But you need to help that person recognize that they have to take other people into account too. Everybody's important on a team. And if behavior is irritating, report how it made you feel. They can't help the way that you feel, but they have to be aware of the fact that they can influence other people. And you might point out how other people may feel about that type of behavior. So that kind of sets a tone for people to be focusing on accomplishing the goals of that meeting. You know, people's time is very valuable. You might ask why the person behaves as he or she does. That's really important for them to consider. When you're asking questions, you're leading people to come to conclusions about things and really be thinking about how their behaviors may be affecting other people, and they may not even realize that that's what they're doing. If the person challenges, philosophizes, or defends their behavior, don't counterattack. It's like throwing fuel on a fire, right? You don't want to do that. You make them aware of the situation and allow them to have grace. Help the person understand that the all-or-nothing approach results in disappointment. I mean, sometimes people, if they don't get their way, they're out of here. I'm taking my ball and going home, so to speak. So the all-or-nothing approach sometimes, or all the time, really is lose-lose. You want to shoot for win-win. Sometimes win-win is finding the best alternative that satisfies the majority of stakeholders in hand. So confront the person with facts and consequences of negative behavior. You want to focus on what you're observing. You can't make it a personal thing. And let the person know that the behavior is unacceptable and really can't be tolerated. And so you don't want to fire a person if you can avoid not firing a person, but you really want to help people recognize and teach them how their behaviors affect other people and the success ultimately of a team. There's been a lot of research on team dynamics and what makes a team more successful or not. Generally speaking, teams of 5 to 8 members that work on teams, smaller sized teams, they have a lot more success. It's easier to manage smaller groups. Different areas that people really need to focus on in organizations, generally speaking, are new markets, technology, product and service quality, safety, work-life issues. These are reasons why organizational teams come together to come up with new ideas to help move the organization forward and fix things that aren't working right. So teams really can be so beneficial if they're properly managed by leaders. Of course, one of the biggest functions of teams is to do problem solving, and being able to recognize your problem solving style and the problem solving styles of other people really is important. And generally speaking, there are 4 different areas that comprise problem solving: experience, reflection, theory, and action. And if you think about each of these 4 different dimensions of problem solving, you create essentially dichotomies where people are stronger. Maybe they're stronger in experience and reflection, or maybe they're stronger in reflection and theory, or they're stronger in action and theory. And so each of these different areas creates a specific problem style that people develop over time and they practice over and over again. Smart leaders recognize those styles and do things to help utilize those styles. So generally speaking, in step 1, when you're designing teams for success, you want to make sure that people have the right experiences and they understand what's going on. People have the time to reflect on the results and recognize patterns. People need to be able to build theories and be able to understand, be able to look at the different dynamics of those theories, and then being able to take the right action, test the theories, essentially. So that's essentially what happens in teams that are doing problem solving. One of the problem solving team styles is the Charles Darwin problem style, and that really has a focus on observing, recording facts, and identifying alternatives. So if you can understand from a scientific perspective, really being able to take a step back and look at what is happening, that can help people make better decisions. The Albert Einstein problem solving style really is about looking at the world of theory and being able to conceptualize what are some ideal outcomes of applying different theories. Socratic problem style really is about application. It's about coordinating and problem solving activities. And then finally, the Henry Ford problem solving style is really about continuing the process, about really looking at ways to strengthen activities as they go along. If we do this, how can we make this better? Once we do that, how we can make that better? And so really recognizing all the different styles, and then a combination of the person that really is flexible, being able to be versatile in being able to choose the right style of problem solving for the situation is really important. So all problem solving styles again have 4 steps essentially: experience, reflection, building theories, and then taking action. If you go through all 4 of those, you're going to be better off in being able to come up with better conclusions, right? So that you don't want to waste time, but you have to be aware of how to expedite processes in order to get the most efficient and effective results possible. It's everything results in the decisions that you make and how you spend your time, right? So problem solving is really important. You have to be able to utilize each of the different problem solving styles at the right time. You need to be able to have tolerance of differences. I see things differently, and I see you see things differently. Let's consider these things with an open mind. We really have to be recognize the value of each of the different problem-solving styles and be able to adjust accordingly. So maturity on a team is so important, right? And then practice emotional intelligence. Value teamwork as a value. Demonstrate this by their own efforts as team builders. Go in and be a champion for each of the different groups. So that's what leaders do. Leaders do their best to make everybody feel like a winner and then create win-win outcomes. Leaders truly, if they want to get the best results, they have to start by hiring the right people. So you've got to recruit and then develop those team members. What do they have the capacity to do? What do they want to do? What are their hopes, dreams, and goals and their interests and past experiences? So really being able to find the right fit and recognizing what you're looking for. You have to be committed to excellence. And you as a leader, of course, have to model excellence. Hire the best and then develop the rest. And so sometimes you inherit teams and you have to recognize what those teams are missing and then do things to fill that niche by giving them the training that they need and the coaching that they need. So you can't be all things to all people, but you do need to have a well-rounded team. And of course, people are motivated when you connect things with their interests. So you can help create a high-performance team by showing enthusiasm. You have to be positive. Make timely decisions, promote open-mindedness, innovation, and creativity, admit mistakes and uncertainties, model honesty. You have to be flexible, using the right tactics and strategies, and then have persistence and lasting power. So you've got to stay in the conversations longer, and you've got to continue to keep your eye focused on accomplishing goals, right? So if you want to create a high-performance team, here are best practices for you to consider. Give credit to others for accomplishments. Remember, celebrating small wins really is important. Keep people informed about the progress and problems. That's that communication thing that comes in. Keep promises and follow through on commitments. You need to be a person of integrity and model exactly what you want them to do. And you've got to give people the right training. You don't always know what they don't know, but people have to have a solid foundation of skills and knowledge to do well, and so giving solid foundation, recognizing what is needed, and then helping people have what's needed. Remember, the performance formula is ability times motivation times resources. And so when things aren't going right, it's one of those three things that you as a leader need to identify and what they need and help them get it. So ultimately, if you're going to be a successful leader, you want to be very, very clear on what those goals are. And those goals will constantly be changing. Keeping people on track is important. You have to be results driven and make sure that the systems in place helps people accomplish those results. So if you don't have the right systems in place, people are going to get frustrated. So remove those obstacles. You have to have competent team members. I know that I like to really believe that all people are created equal, but some people just are more competent than other people. Recognize who those people are, bring them into the fold, nourish them, and don't give them any reason to leave you. Most people quit their bosses, they don't quit their jobs. Make sure that everybody on the team is unified and committed to success, that you help create a collaborative climate, that you have clear standards of excellence, and you need to make sure that you're giving people the external support and recognition that's needed, and you have to have very clear principles that you are leading with, and each person has to be able to be principle oriented too. You know, principles are things that if you do over and over again, you're going to get good results. Like honesty is one of the most important principles. Integrity, doing what you say you're going to do, right? So not talking badly about people behind their backs, you know, being a person of your word, because you're your own brand manager, is important. And you've got to expect it of other people, and you've got to help people recognize how their actions affect other people ultimately. These days, there are people who are working on virtual teams. I've worked on virtual teams before. And those can be a challenge. You know, sometimes technology doesn't work the way that it should work. Sometimes if you're working with people internationally, time dimensions can be a real challenge. I've had people that I've worked with on a team that I like enjoying typing, you know, my communication with them, but when I hear their voice, their accents may be so thick that it makes it hard for me to really understand what's going on. So I've seen all sorts of problems working on organizational time. So really having the right structure, keeping people on task, and giving people the independence that they need really is important. Of course, we can't forget the 4 different stages of a team. You know, the forming, storming, norming, and performing stages, right? So in the forming stage, people are being cautious and tentative. They're kind of testing the water. They're trying to determine what's acceptable behavior and recognize the nature of what the group is doing and what needs to be done. In the storming stage, individuals are reacting to what has been done. They start questioning authority. They may feel uncomfortable among being with each other. There's always going to be different lengths of time for each team, but recognizing that the storming stage is a natural stage that has to take place, that will help. Just knowing that it's just a stage. There's going to be conflict and resistance involved. You have to identify that as a leader and help manage that process, and help people to recognize that differences are okay. You don't have to agree with me on everything. You're seeing things differently. Creating norms in stage 3 are really important. Once people get through all the forming and storming stuff, you know, you really start developing systems that are helping team members work together better. And even when there is conflict, there are custom ways to resolve the conflict and make better decisions to get assignments completed. And then there's the performing stage. That's ultimately where you want your team to be, where everybody knows what needs to be done. They're focusing their energies in the right place. They're helping people be very clear on their membership and purpose and structure and their roles, and everybody's got each other's back in helping make sure things are getting done as efficiently and effectively as possible. Even though your team maybe have reached the performing stage, you have to recognize that sometimes there could be groupthink. Groupthink, I think, is laziness. You know, you really need to be active in recognizing that if everybody is thinking the same way, you may be missing out on important details that could make things fail. And so if you are finding ways to avoid groupthink, you know, getting people to think differently, that's going to help produce more results or better alternatives that will get you better results, right? So it could be stressful, and so sometimes people avoid stressful situations and just want to get along and agree. Well, that's always the best thing for every team. The very best teams really are people feel safe in bringing different ideas. You know that you are in groupthink when people act like they are invulnerable, that there seems to be a belief that everybody is okay and right about as long as they're doing things. They try to rationalize ways to make one person's way work when maybe it may not. You know, people may be closing their mouths and not saying anything, so they're doing this self-censorship thing so not to get the team off track because they see things differently. I hate to say it, but when you see things differently, that's a strength to a group, to your organization or your group. And when you are in groupthink, you're making the organization a little bit weaker. So you have to, as a leader, avoid groupthink. And so you could assign someone the role of a critical evaluator, or that could be you. You can adopt an impartial stance and encourage people to discuss things a little bit more. You might bring in outside people to question the policies that are being done. You might actually intentionally have someone play devil's advocate. And sometimes when there's groupthink, you might want to set the meeting aside and then come back and then give it another thought, and they call that a second chance meeting. So sometimes it's not the right place and the right time, and you have to come back and go, we're all just agreeing on this. There must be something that we are missing here. So let's come back at another time and and work on this a little bit more. And let's all try to bring different ideas to the table, right? It doesn't hurt to ask. More ideas means greater strength, more possibilities, right? Team building really could be one of the most important things. I think some of the best leaders recognize the value of team building, and they create a culture where people embrace team building. I've done team building for organizations where people are like, oh crap, why do we have to do this? And then once they get into it, they really see the value of teams. I mean, you start seeing people's strengths, and it really is best when you can do it team building off-site, and you hire somebody from the outside to do the team building. Sometimes adventure and challenges, experiences really can be fun, and they really help people find their own personal strengths and see the strengths of other team members. Team building is magical. So when you are doing team building interventions, some of the questions, everything's in the debrief, right? And sometimes when you're working through things, you have to ask the right questions. So some of those questions include, where have we been? Where are we now? What is our purpose or mission? What should our goals be? And what are our values? Really recognizing that shared values can help unite a team in accomplishing organizational goals. And of course, staying very clear on what the goals are. Appreciative inquiry is an amazing phenomenon, and this is where a leader says, hey, what is our ideal future? What is it that we're doing well, that we really like doing well? Let's continue doing that. What would be the ultimate future? How can we get to that ultimate ideal future if costs were not a consideration? And so discovery, dreaming, delivering, and designing, each of these pieces really are important in appreciative inquiry. So as a leader, you really have to work hard at helping people do what they need to do. You need to get buy-in. This is about really helping people recognize what the goals are and have those set. You need to create an accountability, who is responsible for each thing and the rewards associated for accomplishing the goals. You need to recognize that there's learning that needs to take place, performance, improving skills. Skill development is something that we can do at all ages. Infrastructure is one of the most important things to consider, how a team is systemized and the resources that are being accessed to be able to accomplish the goals. And then partnering too, how people interact with each other and work together in order to be able to accomplish the organizational goals. And so that means sometimes bringing people from outside in order to make things happen. So your job as a leader is to recognize that teams can be dynamic, and that you as a leader need to really think about what needs to be done and recognize what resources and people you really need to make things happen. Leadership really is a key factor of all the team processes. Great leaders know how to facilitate the work of a team, and they're constantly learning with their team, but they're so engaged with what's going on with their team that they keep it on track. Passion and concern for people really are key to making people truly stay vested in accomplishing goals. And so you as the leader, that's what you need to do. You need to help cultivate passion. You need to be passionate, and you need to model a genuine concern for people, because your people are your greatest asset in your organization. Treat them that way, that you know it, like it's gold. Don't wait till they leave you. Oh, hey, wait, I needed you. You're so important to me. You know, that's foolish. Your team members are the most important thing that help you be successful in creating organizational goals. So treat people that way. For optimum results, you really need to make sure that you're constantly coordinating the group. You're doing everything you can to advocate for each team member and the team as a whole, that you give them the right resources and processes, and you are there the whole time to make sure that the results have the right support that they need, because people feel engaged and passion for the meaning of the project and the organization as a result. We won't want to feel like what we do makes a positive difference. You need to help facilitate that. Remember, if there's an absence of trust, fear of seeing things differently or conflict, a lack of commitment, avoidance of accountability, or inattention to specific results, those are the lethal dysfunctions of a team that will make things more expensive and in the longer run could create failure. So you, as a leader, need to be successful recognizing that you have to do the right thing at the right time with the right people with the right skills and resources, and constantly nourishing a team in order so that they can be as efficient and effective as possible. I've given you a lot about teams here in this last 30 minutes. I hope that you have found something of value that you can take away from this video and use today to help make your career more fulfilling. And more importantly than that, I hope that you have a great day, because only you get to choose how you feel about it. I'm Dr. Paul Gerhardt.